It all started with a simple question. Why does she always plan everything? I, Benny Jackson, found myself caught in the whirlwind of suspicion and doubt that would eventually tear apart my marriage to Rachel. Our relationship had never been perfect, but it was far from what I imagined it would become. A battlefield of trust issues, secrets, and betrayal. Rachel was beautiful, intelligent, and charming, but my mother hated her from day one. She didn't hide her disdain either, often whispering warnings into my ear about how Rachel only cared about money. At first, I dismissed her comments as overprotective nonsense. But then things began to spiral out of control when Mom hired a private investigator to dig into Rachel's past. The findings were explosive. Fake profiles on dating websites where Rachel described herself as someone seeking relationships for financial gain. My heart sank as I stared at those words on the screen. Was everything between us just a lie? Had she married me for love or for my wealth? The tension reached its peak when Rachel came home late one evening, humming softly as though nothing was wrong. Her calm demeanor infuriated me. I confronted her right there in the living room, waving the printed evidence in her face. "Explain this," I demanded, my voice shaking with anger. Rachel froze, her eyes widening in shock before narrowing defensively. "You think I'm some gold digger?" she spat back. "Is that what your mother told you?" But it wasn't just her fake profiles that haunted me. It was the small details that added up over time. Like the mysterious phone calls she received late at night, the way she avoided answering certain questions, or the fact that she rarely introduced me to her friends. Each unanswered query felt like another brick in the wall separating us. And yet, despite my growing doubts, I couldn't ignore the moments we shared. The laughter, the quiet evenings together, the way she made me feel alive again after years of loneliness. Still, the cracks in our foundation grew wider every day. One night, while I was scrolling through social media, I stumbled upon an old photo of Rachel wearing a wedding dress, but standing next to someone who wasn't me. My blood ran cold. Who was this man? Why hadn't she told me about him? As if sensing my unease, Rachel walked into the room and saw the look on my face. Without waiting for her explanation, I slammed my laptop shut and stormed out of the house, leaving behind a storm of unanswered questions. That night, I drove aimlessly through the city streets, trying to make sense of everything. Was Rachel really using me? Or was I letting paranoia get the better of me? Every streetlight seemed to cast long shadows of doubt across my mind. By the time I returned home, Rachel was gone. A note lay on the kitchen counter. "I need space to think. Don't follow me." Those 6 words hit me harder than any accusation ever could. The storm of suspicion that had been brewing between Rachel and me reached a new level of chaos when Andre walked into our lives. It was an ordinary evening, or so I thought, until Rachel casually introduced him as an old friend. Her tone was light, almost dismissive, but something about the way she avoided eye contact sent a chill down my spine. Little did I know this man would unravel secrets that would shatter what little trust remained in our marriage. Andre was charming, with a confident smile and an air of mystery that made me instantly uneasy. He greeted me warmly, shaking my hand with just enough firmness to seem genuine, yet his eyes betrayed a flicker of amusement, as if he knew something I didn't. Rachel fumbled through her explanation, saying he'd unexpectedly arrived in town and wanted to catch up. But there was no mention of how they met or why their bond seemed so peculiarly intimate. My gut screamed at me to dig deeper, but I held back, unwilling to ignite another argument in front of him. It wasn't until later that night, after Andre had left, that everything began to unravel. I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was terribly wrong. As Rachel cleared the table, I confronted her again, more aggressively this time. "Who is he really?" I demanded, my voice rising with each word. She hesitated, her hands trembling slightly as she placed the dishes in the sink. For a moment, I thought she might lie, but instead, she sighed heavily and admitted the truth. Andre was once her husband. My world tilted on its axis. "Your husband?" I stammered, unable to process what I was hearing. She nodded, tears welling up in her eyes, but I was too furious to care. How could she keep such a monumental secret from me? The woman I loved, the woman I married, had lied about one of the most significant relationships in her life. And it got worse. She revealed that their marriage wasn't real. It was a sham, orchestrated solely to help Andre secure citizenship. To add insult to injury, she confessed that Andre was gay, which explained the lack of intimacy in their union. As the pieces fell into place, I felt like a fool. Every unanswered question, every strange behavior Rachel exhibited suddenly made sense. Or rather, it created even more questions. Why hadn't she told me about Andre sooner? Was she afraid I'd judge her? Or was there something else she was hiding? My mind raced with possibilities, each one darker than the last. What if this wasn't the only lie she'd kept from me? What if her entire relationship with me was built on deception? The betrayal cut deep, deeper than any accusation my mother had thrown at Rachel. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about trust, loyalty, and the foundation of our marriage. I stormed out of the house, needing space to clear my head. The cool night air did little to calm the rage boiling inside me. Memories of happier times flashed before my eyes. The laughter, the stolen kisses, the quiet moments we shared, but now they felt tainted like beautiful lies wrapped in poison. When I returned home hours later, Rachel was sitting on the couch, clutching a mug of tea. Her face was pale, and dark circles under her eyes hinted at sleepless nights. "Benny," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I'm sorry. I should have told you everything from the start." Her apology sounded sincere, but it wasn't enough. Not this time. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, my tone harsh despite my attempt to stay calm. "Did you think I wouldn't understand? Did you think I'd leave you because of it?" She shook her head vehemently. "No, Benny, it's not like that. I didn't think it mattered. That part of my life is over. It has nothing to do with us." Her words hung in the air, heavy with desperation. Yet they only fueled my anger further. If it truly didn't matter, why had she gone to such lengths to conceal it? Why had she let me believe she was someone she wasn't? The silence between us grew unbearable. Finally, she spoke again, her voice barely audible. "Do you remember when we first met? You gave me that umbrella without saying a word. Do you know why I fell for you? Because you were different. You weren't like the others. You saw me for who I am, not for what I could offer you." Her admission struck a chord within me, but it wasn't enough to erase the pain. Trust isn't something you can rebuild overnight, especially when it's been shattered beyond recognition. The tension in our marriage had reached a breaking point, but nothing could have prepared me for what Rachel did next. It wasn't just the secrets or the lies anymore. It was a calculated move that would test the very foundation of our relationship and leave me questioning everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and loyalty. One day, as I walked into my office building, two police officers approached me with handcuffs ready. The world seemed to stop spinning as they announced, "Benjamin Jackson, you're under arrest on suspicion of fraud." My mind raced, trying to make sense of their words. Fraud? What were they talking about? As they led me out in front of my colleagues and friends, the humiliation burned through me like wildfire. Whispers filled the air, eyes wide with shock and disbelief. How could this be happening? Was this some kind of sick joke? Later, at the station, I learned the horrifying truth. All my bank accounts had been frozen due to allegations of financial misconduct. Panic surged through me. How would I pay my bills? Support my family? And most importantly, who could possibly believe such absurd accusations? That's when it hit me. This wasn't random. Someone close to me must have orchestrated this nightmare. But who? Why? Rachel arrived at the station hours later, her face pale and trembling. She hugged me tightly, apologizing profusely. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. At first, I didn't understand what she meant. Then, piece by agonizing piece, the truth unraveled. She admitted hiring a lawyer to stage the entire ordeal, a fake lawsuit accusing me of fraud, all to test whether I truly loved her. Her voice cracked as she explained, "I wanted to see if you'd stay with me even when things got tough, when we had nothing left." Her admission felt like a dagger to my heart. A test? This public humiliation, the freezing of my assets, the shame in front of everyone I cared about. This was her idea of testing my love? I couldn't comprehend how anyone could justify such cruelty. Didn't she realize the damage she was inflicting? Didn't she care about my dignity, my reputation, my sanity? When the dust settled and the charges were dropped, Rachel tried to explain herself further. "It's not about the money, Benny," she insisted. "It's about knowing where your priorities lie. Do you love me for who I am? Or do you love me because of what I bring to the table?" Her questions echoed in my mind, but instead of clarity, they only deepened my anger and confusion. If she doubted my intentions so much, why hadn't she simply asked me outright? Why resort to deception and manipulation? The betrayal cut deeper than any accusation my mother had thrown her way. For months, Mom had warned me that Rachel was using me, that she only cared about my wealth. At the time, I dismissed her warnings as paranoia. Now, though, her words haunted me. Had Rachel ever truly trusted me? Or had she always seen me as someone to exploit? In the days following the incident, Rachel moved out of our home, claiming she needed space to think. She packed up our belongings, including my PlayStation, and relocated to a smaller apartment. When I confronted her about it, she revealed that she'd taken a job as a waitress to support us while we figured things out. "We'll manage somehow," she said softly, avoiding my gaze. But her explanation did little to ease the storm raging inside me. Every word she spoke felt like another layer of deceit. As I sat alone in the empty house, memories flooded back. The laughter, the quiet evenings together, the way she used to smile at me. None of it made sense anymore. How could someone capable of such tenderness also orchestrate something so cruel? I replayed the moment she gave me the umbrella during that rainy evening years ago. Back then, I saw it as a gesture of kindness, proof that she cared. Now, I wondered if it had been part of some grand performance designed to win my affection. Eventually, Rachel returned to confront me one last time. "Benny," she began, her voice trembling. "Please forgive me. I never wanted to hurt you." Her apology sounded sincere, but it wasn't enough. Trust isn't something you can rebuild overnight, especially when it's shattered beyond recognition. "How will I know you won't continue to test me every time someone questions why I chose you?" I asked bitterly. Do you really think true love should be tested like this? She didn't respond, but the look in her eyes told me everything I needed to know. Our relationship had become a battleground of doubts and insecurities, each side fighting to protect themselves from further pain. In the end, neither of us emerged victorious. Love shouldn't require constant validation or justification, yet here we were, torn apart by mistrust and fear. As the weight of betrayal and mistrust pressed down on us, I found myself retreating into memories, desperate fragments of a time when our love felt pure and untainted. In that moment of chaos, I remembered the first day Rachel and I met. It was raining heavily, and she stood under a bus stop shelter, drenched but strikingly beautiful. Without uttering a word, I walked to the store, bought her an umbrella, and placed it beside her before walking away. That simple gesture had spoken louder than any grand declaration of affection. It was what drew Rachel to me in the first place, a quiet act of kindness that transcended words. But now, as we faced each other across the wreckage of our marriage, those memories felt like shards of glass piercing my heart. Rachel's eyes were filled with disappointment, not anger. She looked at me as if seeing a stranger, a man who no longer trusted her or believed in their shared history. Do you even remember why I fell for you? She asked softly, breaking the tense silence. Her voice trembled with emotion, and for a moment I thought she might cry, but instead she straightened her posture, steeling herself against whatever pain she felt inside. I trusted you, she continued, her tone firm now. I gave you everything, my heart, my life. And yet all this time you've doubted me. Your mother doubted me. Even after all we've been through, you still question whether my feelings for you are real. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. She wasn't wrong. Between the fake profiles on dating sites, the revelation about Andre, and the staged lawsuit, I had let suspicion cloud my judgment. But hearing her say it aloud made me realize just how far we'd drifted apart. Then came the final blow. Rachel announced she was leaving, not just emotionally, but physically. She had already packed up most of our belongings, including my prized PlayStation. The PlayStation wasn't just a possession. It symbolized happier times when we laughed together over late-night gaming sessions. Seeing it gone felt like losing another piece of us. Why take everything? I asked bitterly, though I already knew the answer. Because I need to start over, she replied, her voice steady despite the tears glistening in her eyes. And because true love shouldn't have to endure constant tests, every challenge we faced, it broke something between us, Benny. How can I stay with someone who doesn't fully believe in me? Who might test my loyalty again the next time someone whispers doubts in your ear? Her accusations stung, but it was impossible to deny its truth. Love should be built on trust, not suspicion. Yet here we were, torn apart by endless trials and tribulations. As Rachel turned to leave, she stopped briefly at the door. Tell me honestly, she said, glancing back at me. Will you keep questioning me every time someone questions why you chose me? Or is there someone else whose opinion matters more to you than mine? Her question hung in the air, heavy with unspoken implications. Before I could respond, she was gone, leaving behind an emptiness that echoed through the house. For hours, I sat alone, staring at the spot where she'd stood. My mind replayed the memory of that rainy day. The umbrella, her smile, the spark of connection that had once seemed so powerful. Now it felt distant, almost surreal. In the days that followed, I tried to rationalize everything. Maybe Rachel had pushed too hard with her schemes, but hadn't I also failed her by letting doubt consume me? Wasn't it possible to rebuild what we'd lost? But deep down, I knew the damage was irreparable. Trust, once broken, is nearly impossible to restore. Our relationship had become a cycle of testing and doubting, each side trying to protect themselves from further hurt. In the end, neither of us emerged whole. After Rachel's departure, the house felt like a tomb, its silence amplifying every ounce of regret and loneliness that consumed me. I wandered through empty rooms, my footsteps echoing as if mocking my solitude. The PlayStation was gone, the photographs removed, even the faint scent of her perfume had faded from the air. All that remained was the ghost of our shared life together, a life I now realized I had taken for granted. I found myself sitting on the floor in the corner of the living room, clutching the umbrella I had once given her. It was ironic how something so simple had been the beginning of everything between us, yet now it symbolized the end. That rainy evening when I handed it to her without saying a word seemed like a lifetime ago. Back then, I thought kindness alone could sustain love. But love isn't just about grand gestures or quiet acts of generosity. It's about trust, respect, and understanding. Things I had failed to give Rachel when she needed them most. The weight of my mistakes pressed down on me until I couldn't breathe. Why hadn't I trusted her? Why did I let my mother's suspicions poison my mind? And why hadn't I confronted her openly instead of letting resentment fester beneath the surface? Each unanswered question gnawed at me, leaving behind a hollow ache that no amount of self-pity could fill. As night fell, shadows stretched across the walls, casting eerie reflections of what used to be. My phone buzzed incessantly with calls from friends and colleagues who had heard about the scandal, but I ignored them all. Their voices would only remind me of the humiliation I'd endured. The arrest, the frozen accounts, the shattered dignity. Instead, I sat there, staring at the umbrella, replaying every moment we'd shared in my head. Her laughter, her smile, the way she looked at me during those rare moments of vulnerability, it all came rushing back, tinged with bitterness. Yet, amid the despair, a flicker of hope emerged. Perhaps this pain was necessary. Perhaps losing Rachel was the universe's way of teaching me the value of unconditional love and unwavering trust. If I ever wanted to find happiness again, I would need to confront my flaws head-on and learn to become the kind of man worthy of someone like Rachel. Not just materially, but emotionally and spiritually. For now, though, I remain trapped in the aftermath of my choices, cradling the umbrella like a lifeline. Somewhere deep inside, I believed that maybe, just maybe, redemption wasn't entirely out of reach. Maybe one day I'd have another chance to prove myself, to her, or to someone else willing to see beyond my imperfections. Some people leave scars, others leave lessons. Burn and reborn stories that break you, then rebuild you.